In 2016, Interfit released the Honey Badger 320 Studio Flash. This small but powerful strobe has become a big hit with our customers and has won many awards since its release. Following on from the success of the Honey Badger 320, Interfit asked, what can we do to improve this? The overwhelming response was to add a battery, but to keep the compact form, but make it fully portable. Not only did we do this, but we added HSS and TTL, which means the Badger Unleashed is market leading in its class. So what next? Introducing the new Badger Beam, a portable yet powerful, state-of-the-art single-cob 60-watt LED. The simple yet accurate controls means the Badger Beam is perfect for users of all levels. The Badger Beam has both AC and DC power, giving an impressive 45-minute runtime at full power from a single charge. If you need longer, just pop in a new battery or plug it into the mains. It has a range of modifying options: S-band, a pop-up softbox ring, but also an 8mm umbrella shaft. This gives you limitless light shaping options, but also means it's compatible with all existing Interfit modifiers. The single cob LED is flicker free, meaning it will work with all cameras on all settings with no need for sync cables or triggers. This opens up a world of opportunities for people creating photos and videos on their mobile phone. The Badger Beam shares a lot of its DNA with the Badger Unleashed. This means they work flawlessly together. This compatibility is a fantastic way of adding something new to your photography, and it's a fantastic addition to any lighting kit. This light helps bridge the gap between video and photography, meaning it's absolutely perfect for any and all content creators.
Welcome to All Things Badger, and welcome to Joe Swift, the European Product Manager
How you
at
doing?
Interfit. Not too bad, Joe.
Good afternoon, you okay?
All good, thank you. So, Joe, you're going to be giving us the rundown on the new Badger Beam and the rest of the Honey Badger family. So should we just start with the Beam? Could you maybe just explain a few things about that for any viewers that aren't too familiar?
Yeah, so we released, it was, as I say, it was meant to be released about 12 months ago, but we put the delay back. We delayed the release to October. It's a 60-watt battery-powered, both AC and DC LED flash. It being continuous lighting, being LED, eradicates any need for, sync cables or, sort of tethering, anything like that. And it works with any type of camera from, your top end Hasselblad straight through to, your iPhone and everything in between. It offers a great flexibility, and, you can use it pretty much anywhere and do anything with it. It's 60 watts is just enough power to do most things. You're not going to combat the power of the sun with it, but it does give you that compact, simple to use sort of build quality there. It's a really useful bit of kit.
Excellent. We had one question from Hudson, who says, I currently shoot with the Badger Unleashed system, which I am very happy with. Would the Badger Beam work seamlessly with the Badger Unleashed?
Oh, completely. I mean, you can see behind. We've got one of each. They're built out of the same chassis, so the batteries work, the chargers work, all the modifiers work. It's just a case of one is a flash, one is continuous, but everything else apart from that means they're exactly the same. So they work really, really well together. We did a photo shoot and video shoot for a local singer songwriter, and we used the Badger beams to light the video, the flash to light the stills, and then we did some combining both of them. But yeah, because they're built out the same sort of DNA effectively, they work perfectly together. So if you've already got modifiers for one, you've got stacks of batteries for one, you can just plug everything in, chop and change as you need it. It's perfect.
Excellent. And so, where did the idea come from for these kind of lights? Were you just trying to kind of bridge that gap, particularly?
Well, Interfit's always been known for more flash than it has been for continuous, but I think the line between photographer and videographer is becoming a lot more. It's a lot more of a grey area now. It's a lot fainter, so you get a lot of people that will do stills who also do video, and vice versa. So it's trying to give you that light that sort of does both. I mean, it'd be great to be able to have two separate kits, but time, cost, space might not necessarily allow people to do that. So coming up with an LED light that can be used for video and stills, or using any camera, just seemed like a bit of a no-brainer. And I think with cameras becoming more and more powerful, more and more, sort of capable of doing things, that having 1,000 watts of light isn't necessarily something that you really need anymore. But there is some call for that, but I think it's getting quite niche.
Excellent. And they're an extremely distinctive product, obviously talking about name and the way that they look as well.
Well, I think we came up with the honey badger originally, because it's yellow, it's a lot of fun. I think a lot of flashes just tend to be black tubes, and they all kind of look the same. So having something that's a little bit distinctive, that gives you a bit of product, a bit of brand awareness, was it was an obvious thing to do, really. The compact shape, the nice, the funky colours, the designs. You see one of these kicking around, and there's no, oh, is that this? Is that that? There's no confusion of what type of light it is. It's definitely ours, which is something we were really, really conscious about. The reason why we made the Badger beam black instead of yellow like the Unleashed is purely because we didn't want any chance of any sort of colour cast coming off the light itself. Using an LED continuous, we didn't think it would happen. We did some tests on some pre-models, but we just thought it was best not to take the risk. Never to mention the fact that you wanted something to separate the two, so you could tell which one was which.
Excellent. And obviously, this is very much a range, isn't it, the honey badger? So could you kind of give us a quick overview of it, Joe, how it all slots together?
Yeah, so we've got the original honey badger, which is this one here, and this is a 320 watt predominantly studio flash. It's a really powerful flash for the size. It's just won another award at the Photography Show Awards again. It won one last year as well for best mains flash, which is fantastic. And then you've got the Unleashed, which is this one here just next to it. And this is 250 watts, but it's battery powered. So it allows you to sort of take it anywhere you need to go. It's small enough to fit in your kit bag, but this also has sort of modern tech. It's got HSS, which is high speed sync, and it's got TTL through the lens, allowing you, to get a lot more out of it than just the standard manual flash. And then the obvious step, as we've talked about, was to move into a portable video photography light, which is the Badger Beam, which is a 60 watt LED, but again gives you all the features of the S mount, umbrella mounts. It's battery powered. Unlike some of the equivalent lights, this is both AC and DC, so you can plug it into the mains if you're using it in the studio, so you haven't got to continuously run it off the batteries, which we think was something that was quite key, because a lot of the other lights don't tend to feature that. It's one or the other for some of them, so why not give both? It seemed like the obvious way to go. But I'd say all these lights are this again, the original Honey Badger led into the Unleashed, which then led into the Beam. They sort of all blended together. They were the obvious directions of where to go. So we're obviously always sort of developing new products. There are more things planned in the range. Watch this space that hopefully will sort of develop the range to work as an ecosystem. So you haven't got to worry about, I want a new light, but I'm going to have to buy new remotes and new modifiers. There's none of that. We're going to try and keep everything on the same ecosystem. So if you've got one, you can just easily add to it with limited fuss, really.
Excellent. And obviously, there are lots of kits available, and they all look very comprehensive. Can you tell us about some of those as well, please?
So we tried to put together a range of kits. You're never going to get one out of the box kit that does everything. So we've got a few. We do some kits that are more studio based. These are the ones that come with like larger modifiers that people aren't going to be hiking up a mountain. And then we've got the ones that come with the rugged sort of backpacks. So you can literally take these wherever you need to go and work with much more compact modifiers. We do a kit with the umbrellas for the Badger Beam, which is fantastic for for video interviews. I've got one actually lighting me here. It's also really good for sort of product photography and that sort of thing where you need to pop up, you need to create some nice soft lights. But we also do gel kits for adding colour, a bit of drama. And then you do like there's the softbox kits for, again, creating nice soft range of light. It really is trying our best to give you a starter kit. So you can buy one of these, it'll get you going, but it's really easy to add to at later dates. If you do want to add another piece of kit to it, you haven't got to worry about buying a lot of unnecessary stuff, which is, no one wants to spend money if they don't have to. So that's kind of where we think with that. But like I said, the kits all work out of the bag. It's they're a fantastic range, and we're always available. So if we've got a very very good customer service team. So if you ever did want any advice, I'm thinking of getting into portrait photography or product photography, or I'm doing YouTube videos, just drop us a message and we'll be happy to sort of advise you on whatever sort of kit it is that you need. There's always someone sort of at the end of an email, or we can set up a phone call, just to discuss, to make sure that you're buying the product that's going to suit you best. We see that's key as well, trying to be as close to the customer as possible.
And lots of the accessories are really easy to set up, aren't they? I'm thinking about the soft boxes and so on.
Yeah, I mean, my advice for everyone who wants real simplicity is to use one of the umbrellas, because they work like an umbrella. They just pop up and pop down. But we've got a range of sort of foldable soft boxes that work on a metal frame, so they work similar to an umbrella. Sorry, but as you pop them up, it's a softbox, and these are fantastic. We've got really good reviews. A lot of people singing the praises for these. I mean, my own personal work, I use them all the time, just purely because of how easily they are to set up. The disadvantage to some of the bigger ones that come with rods and big frames, they are great, but they're a little bit fiddly to deal with. So they tend to be a bit more studio based, because you'll set it at once, you'll leave it in the corner, that's it. It's going to stay there now. But if you are looking to be moving around a little bit more, and you're doing location things, and you're off, people's houses, or wedding venues or whatever, then definitely something that's a little bit easier to use is a must. So we would advise pop-up soft boxes, umbrellas, something along those lines.
Excellent, cool. Had a question from Andrew, who would like to know why choose the Badger Unleashed over the S1?
That's a bit of a funny question. It depends really on your needs. Obviously, the S1 is a 500-watt flash, so it's twice as powerful. They both have HSS. They both have TTL. So one why you choose the Honey Badger or the Badger Unleashed is just for the size. The S1 is quite big, and it is reasonably heavy. So if you are looking to do a lot of stuff running and gunning, you want an easy setup, I'd advise the Honey Badger Unleashed, because it's just so much lighter and easy to use. But if you need 500 watts, then there's that option there. But it's what your needs versus the wants, basically. If you need 500 watts, then obviously the Unleashed is only 250. Whereas if you don't need 500 watts, the Unleashed is a little bit smaller, it's a bit quicker. It's a little easier to deal with because it's not quite so big, not quite so heavy.
Cool. Why did you do a full LED without flash? What was the thinking behind that?
Well, it's power, basically. So you want to keep this small form. If we were to increase the LED modeling bulb on here to be the same as the one on the beam, you're not going to get the usage out of it. You're not going to get the amount of flashes. You're not going to get the runtime. So we went for a full LED, because then you've got the option then to run it for nearly an hour. You've got options to swap the batteries out. It's light, it's small, but also flash is becoming a little bit more niche in some respects. So people want to be able to turn it on, use it to create a video, but also use it to shoot the stills to go with the video. So not everyone wants the flash. It gives you that option. So if we were to say add a flash to the Badger beam, we'd have to make it again probably about half the size bigger. So then it's a whole new light in some respects. So it's trying to sort of make sure people have the options to use these together. But the LED, again, it does push more towards the filmmaker rather than the photographer. So we're just pushing into that, but it does give you that option to do both.
Just talking about batteries briefly, how are they kind of in terms of being able to give you a decent length on a shoot? And can you tell us about recharge times as well?
Yeah, so the batteries will give you, if you're running them at full power, they give you around 45 minutes. Again, half power is about 2.5 hours. If you're running them at anything less, I mean, we've tested them at 50% and 100%. So if you're talking around 25%, they'll probably run about 4 hours. Now, the advantage is they will charge at about 1.5 hours, but they are changeable. You can charge the batteries outside of the unit. So rather than having to keep it in there while you charge it up, you can just take it out, pop it on charge in the corner, or for whatever, and just pop a new one in and to just carry on going. That was always the thoughts behind it. One of the reasons why we don't sort of look to charge the batteries within the unit. So if you've got the battery charging and the units running off the mains, we didn't really want to do that because you can actually damage the length of the battery. You can damage the life cycle to it as it's the power is being drawn through to charge up and then drawn through again to power the light. You can find that it can damage the longevity of the battery. I mean, the batteries themselves are very reasonably priced. I mean, you could get, for the cost of like the equivalent V-Lock batteries, you could get a whole new head and battery. So it shows, that we've really put some thought into making sure that this is as utilitarian and give you the best sort of value for money as we could, really. As I said, the batteries for the Unleashed and the Beam are the same. So you can just chop and change them. You haven't got to worry too much about having to buy a whole new set of batteries. The chargers are all the same, so it really does make things really simple for you. With the Unleashed, you'll get around 430 full power flashes. Now, that's a real world test. That's not a real world test. A real world test, you're probably getting around 420, 415. If you're running the LED modeling lamp, if you're running it on TTL, obviously that's going to lower the number of flashes you get. But if you aim to say we've got about 400 full power flashes, I think that'll be exactly where you need to be there. And again, if you wanted more, you'd have to make the units bigger, you'd have to make the batteries bigger. They wouldn't be supportable, they wouldn't be so easy to use. So it's trying to find that even balance where you've got, the most amount of functionality from the smallest unit we could create, making them really simple to use just about everywhere. That was always the plan, was to make things as compact as possible, but giving as much functionality as we can from each use.
Excellent. And what kind of things have you got coming up in the product pipeline for the Badger range?
Well, I can't really go into it too much. There was a meeting we had with the guys over in California last week, just discussing where we're going to go and how we're going to develop it further. There's obviously LEDs are moving into sort of LED production at the moment, so we kind of think that's potentially somewhere we are going to be looking. Maybe we'll be looking into, we talked about some apps that may help control the things a little bit more. There's a lot of conversation at the moment. Obviously, sadly, COVID's putting a bit of a halt on a lot of development for a lot of people at the minute. We're talking about obviously developing new triggers for new camera brands and updating the firmwares to make sure that they seem to release cameras every 25 minutes. Every 20 minutes there's another camera that's come out, so we have to obviously try and keep on top of that as well. But no, there's lots of different things that we are working on at the moment to sort of develop the brand a bit further. Within ourselves, just to make sure that this is what the customer wants. So, we do a bit of research. We do chat to existing customers to say, listen, if you could add something, if you could take something away, what would make life easier for you? And that's kind of how we go at it. So we start with the customer and sort of say, what would make your life a bit easier? And that's where we're going. And the obvious thing a lot of people do say, people just want more power. They just want as much power as they can get into a smaller unit. So that is something we have been looking at developing, just something within the compact form that's going to kick out a little bit more power for you.
Excellent. Have a question from Angela. She says, "Hi Joe, I'm using one Unleashed and a Beam, and I'm loving what I'm creating with them. If I take the Beam's battery out to recharge it, can I continue using the Beam off the mains? I haven't tried this, just in case I damage the kit."
No, that's fine, Angela. I mean, that's not a problem. You just take the battery out, put the what you will need is you'll need two chargers effectively. So that the charging unit that came with the beam will power it on mains, and then if you've got an Unleashed, you can use the Unleashed charger to charge the battery. But that's fine. No, you can run it without the battery in. It's no problem at all. Just make sure there's a switch underneath that you switch it to mains power, take the battery out, and you're away. In terms of the chargers, obviously the charger you get with your Unleashed will charge the batteries, but it won't power the beam. It doesn't kick out the right ampage, so you need to make sure that you're using the right chargers in the right sockets. So the mains charger for the beam is what you want to make sure you're using to power it on the mains. Otherwise, you could damage it. So yeah, it's a good question.
Excellent. And we saw earlier on the presentation from Ellie. You must have been quite pleased with how all that worked out. Some very striking images in there.
Oh, I mean, Ellie, yeah, she's a really talented photographer. She didn't really tell us exactly what she was planning. She just sort of said, "Listen, you know, any chance you send me these lights?" At the time, we only had two in Europe, so I know. Sorry, we had four of them in Europe that we'd had sent over as samples from America, and just said, "Listen, you can take them, but just don't drop them in the bath," sort of thing, you know. So she's, "Oh, I'll be fine." And then she turns around after she'd finished and say, "Oh yeah, there was loads and loads of water, and we were in a tank." And I thought, "Oh my god, hopefully she's not hurt themselves or damaged these new products." But no, it's absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's incredible sort of use of of the facilities that she had there at Tank Space. It was brilliant. So it was really interesting to see how someone takes this product and can run with it. I mean, there's only so many ideas you can think of yourself. So getting an outside sort of fresh eyes effectively to look at it was brilliant. But the actual video that she created is almost quite like a music video. It's really, really good. I mean, it wasn't, I don't think we could have imagined it would have been how it is, if you understand what I mean. It was, she very briefly told us roughly what she was doing, and our main concerns was don't damage anything, and you can and we can support you. But no, it was great. It was a really interesting bit of footage.
Excellent. Yes, it was great. Another question. The badges are super portable. Where's the coolest place you've seen people use them?
Well, we had one of our pros is a guy, Leo Francis, works at Red Bull. He photographed in Mongolia minus 40 degrees with them, and they worked. I mean, he phoned me up and he sort of said, I'm going to Mongolia with the lights. Will they work at minus 40? And I was like, well, I won't work at minus 40. So we just, we took some advice from the engineers, and they just basically told him to make sure that he covers up some of the air vents and tries not to sort of drop them or anything, and that the batteries might run out a bit quicker. But he reported back that he was using them at minus 40, and he didn't do any of the stuff we advised, and they worked just fine. The batteries were great. Nothing seemed to have any damage at all. But no, so minus 40 is the coldest place someone's used them at.
And what about at the opposite extreme? Do you ever have any users that use them in really arid conditions?
Well, I mean, Ben Bentley again. One of our guys was shooting in the Mojave Desert, just off Route 66, and I think I was up to about. He said when they were hiding in the shade, it was about 44. So that's plus 44. So yeah, that was a midday sun, but they weren't actually shooting because it was just too hot. They physically couldn't do it. So they were, around. So yeah, you're probably talking around 30, 32 degrees. These have been used in, but so they're all fitted with fans and various other sort of, ways of dispelling the heat. The design at the front here, this little metal, that's for dispelling the heat. That's what that's there for. So, obviously the LEDs and the flashes themselves give off heat. So they have been quite well tested. We never tested them to minus 40. I don't really understand why on earth we would have done that, but yeah, but it turns out they work. So yeah, really interesting.
Excellent. Angela says, "Thank you very much for the question. Charger point noted." Thank you very much.
No problem at all.
Excellent. So you touched on lockdown briefly earlier on. Have you seen a kind of upswing in interest in people kind of shooting at home using lighting?
Yes and no. we found that a lot of people have been obviously trying to keep themselves occupied. We've had a lot of people pulling old Interfit products out the loft and sort of continue to use them. We've had a lot of people taking up photography as a hobby just to try and stave off the boredom. We've also found that we had a lot of people that were buying lights that would have really no interest in them otherwise for video conferencing. I mean, Keir Starmer was photographed carrying some of our lights out of a meeting, and I had to do an interview with The Guardian to sort of explain why people have been using these lights and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's been a really strange thing. I mean, within lockdown, I think we sold out of sort of pop-up backgrounds and other bits and pieces almost overnight as people were trying to set up home offices. So it's it's a year that hopefully won't repeat itself because because no one wants that. But it was a year that did open up a lot of eyes to a lot of new potential customers. So yeah, it had its positives and obviously a lot of negatives as well. But yeah, but a lot of people sort of calling, asking, I'm taking my business online. I need to take some e-com photographs of my products, everything from people that make bespoke chopping boards to people that deal with sort of at-home bakeries, that are trying to get their products online. So I spent a lot of time sort of speaking to customers that way, which was great. I mean, it's a really good sort of option that we've got the ability to talk through customers like that to help them any way we can.
Excellent. There's quite something about Keir Starmer carrying lights out of a meeting.
Yeah, as I said, it was an odd one. I didn't even notice. We just had an email from The Guardian. I won't lie, I just assumed it was someone trying to sell us advertising space. That tends to be what it is. But no, I spoke to a lady and she did she did an interview and it was in the paper and online and stuff. So yeah, it was interesting. There's a photograph of him just carrying one of our sort of video light boxes out of a meeting somewhere. So don't know what he's been doing with it. I'd assume a video meeting, but you can only, I don't think he's taken his home bakery business online. I don't think he's not what he's doing.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing some images from that. That would be great. Cool.
All right.
All right. I don't think there's any more questions, Joe. So
Cool.
Is there anything you'd like to say to kind of wrap up?
Yeah, so as I said, I've mentioned it earlier for those that are there, we're always available for sort of, a chat. If anyone has any questions about one of our products or needs any advice, then, we are, as I say, we're UK based completely. So by all means, just head online, drop us an email, and we can set up a call. One of our educators is doing a piece on high speed sync this afternoon. Mark Walker, a really sort of skilled educator. He's taught a lot of people. So if you're interested in finding out how that works and the advantages to it, then by all means, check him out. He's on at 3:30, so great.
Excellent. Mark, thank you very much. No, sorry.
Thank you.
Joe, thank you very much indeed.
No problem at all, guys.
Thanks
Cheers.
for watching,
Thanks
everyone. And we'll catch you later on.
Take care.
Enjoy your weekend.
Bye.